What about you, Allie? Top two. Next one.
Well, no, this is my last one. This is my third. So my third pick is Ozark. So the reason that this is my last pick is also because this is a show in my top that finished. This was the last. This was the finale. Because there's been a couple this year, and there's been a few this year that will never measure up. Anywho's Bopsy. So if anybody here has watched Ozark, I think you can agree every season has been intense. It's interesting. I love the setups in the beginning that they have the Easter egg pictures that has to do with every episode, so they change. I love all the details. This season, the final season, giving us this weird closure. It was sad. Like, seeing Ruth die like that, after everything she's been through, after all she was trying to build up for, after she's trying to hold on to her family, whatever she has left with her family, and it ending like that. We all kind of knew it was possibly going to happen, but actually seeing it happen, oh my gosh. And that actress is amazing. Like, what was the rich Russian girl she was pretending to be, or I don't know. There was the documentary that she was like acting in. Anybody watch that? No. Anywho's about me. I'm looking at Belle's face and she's like, I don't know.
Because I don't watch Ozark, but I know what show you're talking about. Her. She's got the blonde hair, but she was pretending to be in the documentary. She was pretending to be Russian, but she was like American or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was like socialite. Anyway. Yeah. That actress is awesome. So I think as far as, and I'm picking this again because it was the finale. And as far as show finales go, you're not always satisfied. I mean, we could go on for days about shows that we're not happy with how it ended, or it barely ended because it was a black screen, or Dexter, or Walking Dead, or so many freaking things. So many shows we've watched that were not satisfied. I think Ozark actually left me satisfied. They killed people, you got shocked, you had tie-ins. They did such a great job with this family and the kids and the whole aspect, the dynamics that kept changing, that they really did end the show properly. I think they gave it justice. It might not have been the best show of the year, but as far as the best closing show of the year, this is what gets it. It's Ozark.
I'm going to probably watch the entire series in one shot. A lot of people I know who've watched it loved it. I've never seen a single episode, which is weird because I love the cast. Everyone in the cast I'm familiar with, and I love everything that they've ever done, but I just haven't watched it. So 9 times out of 10, now that the finale is dropped, I'm probably going to just watch everything at once because I have a tendency to do that.
We'll say with this show, I couldn't watch it. Like, I could not binge this show. It was
really?
Good. It was good to watch like an episode or two because there was so much in every episode that you're trying to like connect. It really makes you think. So you don't want to binge it because you're gonna miss stuff. Like, you want to be able to sit and think about it. Sure. So like 1 or 2 episodes at a time is like good. Okay. Don't watch it in just one sitting because they're
Okay. My next pick was a show that, upon rewatch, I loved it the first time around, but then when I rewatched it, and apparently I literally made my mom rewatch it by accident. Rings of Power. If you guys follow us on YouTube, you know that Eric and I did a deep dive into every episode. Like, part 1 is up, but we got a whole other half an hour level of stuff that we're talking about Rings of Power. And because we did the deep dive, I'm not going to go too far into it here. But suffice to say, from the casting, to the locations, to the costuming, little things like Arendir's armor, because he is a forest elf, having Ents on it, to show the difference between the Sylvan elves and the forest elves. So little things like that, and his reverence for trees. There's literally a whole scene where he's basically apologizing to a tree because of what he's about to have to do. For me, Rings of Power works in a way that the Hobbit series did not. Because it remembers that Tolkien wrote these after being in a war. Tolkien went through some shit. He went through some real bad stuff. And he saw stuff, and he saw people that he loved turn into people he did not like. And that is threaded throughout all of his works. And Rings of Power, one of the things I said in the deep dive, one of the reasons this show connects with me in the way that Hot D didn't, House of the Dragon, is because this show shows what all of these machinations up here with the various kingdoms, how it affects the people on the ground.
You'll get that soon in House of the Dragon.
Right.
They got a big storm coming.
I believe you.
Targaryen's got a big storm coming.
One of the reasons I couldn't connect with House of the Dragon, and one of the reasons why, looking back on it, Game of Thrones kind of left me cold, is because all this stuff, we never see how it affects people on the ground level. But because we are with the Harfoots from jump, and because we're with Arendir and Brownwind and Theo from jump, from day one, we see how all of this nonsense is destroying lives on a day-to-day basis. So the stakes mean more. You are rooting for the found family of Arendir and Brownwind and Theo to come out of this alive. When there's a whole episode where I was like, where is my family? And I spent that entire episode anxious because we had no idea where any of the three of them were. And so, because of that, there's a heart to it that I think is lacking in a lot of these other big shows. The only show I can think of that does a good job with that is The Expanse, where it shows how this is affecting people on ground level. It's wonderfully active, it's beautifully shot. My only concern is in season 2, they're not going to be in New Zealand. They're going to be in England and Ireland, and I'm like, I have concerns. And with the recent news that Joseph Malwale is not going to be back as Adar, I have a little bit of a concern for that. But this season was so good. It was so beautiful, and it did a really good job of showing you exactly how Sauron was able to do the damage that he was able to do. This season,
talk about that when you're done. I gotta talk about that.
Yeah, we talked about it in the deep dive, but suffice to say, you totally get how he was able to wreck everybody's shit. Because everywhere he went, chaos follows. And it's so subtle. And it's so insidious. He's so insidious. I just love the show. It is a feast for the eyes. I love that we see Mount Doom in the first episode and don't realize it. I love that. I was like, oh my God. I'm rewatching it and I'm like, oh shit. Holy shit. It's been there in the first episode. It's right there. Oh my God. So, I am here for this as a Tolkien head. I'm here for it. I'm one of those people who has actually read the Silmarillion.
Bless you. I'm still trying to get through it. Bless you.
Yeah, I read it multiple times. It's in my bathroom. I'm not even kidding you. The Silmarillion is in my bathroom. I read it multiple times. I own all of the works and the appendices. I grew up with this. This is my shit. And I want to keep in mind, I want people to remember, I did not want to watch this show. I was not on board for this at all. But I was willing to give it a chance because Eric, love you, Eric. We miss you. We love you. I love your reviews. Eric was so enthused about it. And I trust Eric's judgment. So I was like, I'll give it a chance. I'm so glad I did. It's so good. I cannot wait for season 2. Go, what were you going to say, Mary?
So when I watched, I waited for the whole thing to be out so I could just sit down and binge it one day. Because I'm in that mindset now that I don't have the time to wait week to week. There's too many other shows, clearly. So I need to binge. And because I'm such an avid reader, from the minute they introduced him, not as Sauron, I forget what his fake Halbrand. From the minute they introduced, I was like, that's definitely Sauron. There is, like, it's too good and too juicy of an opportunity for them to waste the chemistry that he has with Morfydd Clark and be like, oh, they save each other. Maybe she has feelings for him. Maybe he has feelings for her, and they're both hot. And then, oops, he's the guy that you vowed to kill because he killed your brother. I was like, there's no way that he is not Sauron, especially because they were trying so hard to misdirect with the stranger with the Harfoots. They were trying to make it seem like he was Sauron. I was like, no, that's got to be Gandalf or one of the wizards. It could have been anybody, but I do think he's Gandalf because of, like, follow your nose. But I clocked that he was Sauron right away, and he did such a good job. I think my only complaint for Rings of Power is, where the hell is Galadriel's husband? She's saying he's dead when we know for a fact that he's not. They still
Celeborn is not dead.
She like literally says, oh, I lost him, implying that he died. I'm like, there's no way he's dead, because you two still have to have a whole daughter who grows up to marry your friend Elrond, and then they have 3 kids, one of whom marries Aragorn, who is a descendant of the 2 men that you've been traveling with. Also, Cynthia Dye Robinson is beautiful, and she was really the whole reason I was watching this show, because I'm such a fan of hers. Aside from the fact that it's Tolkien,
God, so good as Miracle.
She's stunning, and what's his name? Not Isildur, his father. Elendil, that's it. He's such a himbo. He's in
love with her. It's so funny. It was literally so. It's so funny you should say that, because like Eric and I were doing in the deep dive, and I was like, my dumb ass didn't clock that he was in love with her until like the last episode, and I'm like,
such like an ancient medieval kind of courtly love where it's very unspoken, but you can see it and you can feel it. But he is such a himbo. Sometimes the stuff that comes out of his mouth, I'm like, did you really just say that? Did you really just say that? But yeah, as soon as I saw that Cynthia Dye Robinson was in the cast, because she was the only person I recognized immediately by name, So I was like, she's in it. I know it's going to be good. And I get to go home to Middle Earth. I'm sold.
As soon as I saw that Cynthia was cast and Joseph Mawale, I was like, I'm here for this. I'm here, whatever is happening, I'm here for it. And I love, and it's a little thing, we talked about this in the deep dive, but I absolutely love that now that the character cannot see what he's doing, he's much more obvious about how much he's in love with her. It's so sweet. And as Eric said, and that's how we get Aragorn. That's how we get an Aragorn, baby. I'm like, that's true. I think the casting is also just phenomenal for the show. It's just so good. There's no weak link. I was a little worried about Theo. No, every character. Theo is fantastic. And that kid is so, so good. And I hope to see, y'all, I wish he wasn't as old as he is, because he would be so great as Damian Wayne. Oh my God, he'd be so great as Damian Wayne, but he's too old.
Just age up Damian Wayne. Just age him
He's
up.
too old. But he would be so phenomenal as Damian. But yeah, the show is so good. I love it. It's so lush. Again, another show that's visually stunning. What about you, Allie?
So I'm not as big of a Tolkien fan as you guys are. I love Lord of the Rings. I do. I love the Hobbitses. I did enjoy the show. I think I might need to rewatch it because I was bored. A lot of it I was bored with. It took me a while, and I think because at the time I was also watching House of Dragons. I was watching so many other shows that I probably should have waited to watch this one, because I love I love the elves and all that stuff. But yes, I love the Half-Foots. I love them, and I love the dwarves, and like those are usually like my homies. So I probably need to rewatch it to find.
I would die for Lisa right now. I love her so much. What kills me is that she was pregnant. Did y'all know that?
No.
The actress who plays Diza was freaking pregnant through the entire filming of the show. And I'm just like, girl, what? So I'm like, oof, that is a lot. She was super pregnant through the entire filming of the show. And I just loved that they were just like, it's fine. We'll make it work.
They totally were misleading. I agree with the Sauron, because for the longest time I was like, oh yeah, he's gotta be bad, right? Because he's just big and oafy, and especially when the witches were coming out, we're like, ooh, or whatever they were. Yeah. So I need to rewatch it when I have a little bit more time, more shows. Because again,
for me, this show connected to me more than Hot D, because while I know that there are going to be that technically this stuff is happening over 1,000 years, they're not doing the thing that Hot D is doing, which is changing the actors every 4 or 5 episodes. And so therefore I have an emotional connection to these people.
Exactly.
That's I do not with Hot D at all.
I have zero emotional connection to any of these characters because you don't get to spend any time with any of them except for Viserys, who's a weak king and honestly a shitty dad, except to Rhaenyra. But so overall a shitty dad because he favors one kid over the 5 that he has. Daemon, who's also a piece of shit and a groomer, and Christian Cole, who is also there's no heroes in Hot D. Everyone is morally gray, and they're all shit, and they're all gonna get their comeuppance. And the small folk do play a big part of that, which I can't wait to watch that. I hope they don't change it the way they've changed some other things for the show, They've changed some things that I don't agree with. But you want to see small folk and see how things affect people on that ground level. You will see that in Hot D in the future. It's coming.
I can only hope, because right now Hot D has left me very I'm like, okay, dragons.
If you like, I'll tell you off chat to avoid spoilers for Watch It. I will tell you privately off chat the shit that's gonna go down from the small. It's epic.
Okay,
fair enough.
I have a challenge then, ladies. So since not a huge fan of the Hot D, which just makes me giggle.
Yeah.
What was your least favorite show? This is off script right now, so we can totally cut this, but what was your least favorite show? I have one, and so I'll start. This will give you some time to brainstorm. So I have the unfortunate completionist complex. During the pandemic, this god-awful show came out called Virgin River. Mary knows all about it because I text my group, the baby hitters, about Virgin River, and they have these seasons that keep happening, and these characters keep living, and I don't understand why. It's so bad. Like, the writing is bad, the acting is horrendous. It's in like this cute little town that apparently has a river, but also drug issues, and apparently a murder that comes through, and these people keep living. And that's my biggest problem with this show. It's so bad, and they keep living. So I'm hoping that they will finish the show with everybody dying, because of course in the end everybody needs to die, and maybe it'll actually happen in this freaking show because it's so bad. And why do I keep watching it? Because I hate myself.
See, I don't watch, if I get through an episode and I hate it, I just dump out. So there's no one show that I'm just like, oh, that was terrible, why did I sit through that? As a rule, I do not engage. There's too much good television for me to waste my time with shitty television. So I dump out. If I hate it, I'm just like, all right, good, nice. I can't do it. There's too much good shit for me to be wasting my time with stuff I hate. But you are very much a completionist, and it's just, God bless you.
Then what was a show that you started that you didn't finish this year then? Do you have one of those?
There's a show on Peacock, I want to say, from Barry Levinson and David E. Kelly, about a detective, and I love the cast. But it wanted to be Sherlock with a Jewish lead, and it was very contrived. I can't even remember the name of it. I watched it with Ron. I was like, maybe Ron will like it. And we were both like, okay, well, that happened. And then we left. And then we never watched a single episode after. It's good.
I love that you don't even remember the name of it. So it was so bad.
I know. Thank you.
Or just hated you had to finish it.
I actually had to go to Google and be like, what new shows came out in 2022 and just scroll through the pictures and see, is there anything here I watched that I didn't like? One show I watched this year that I didn't like, I finished it, but almost from start to finish, I didn't like it, was Archive 81, which is based on a podcast, and it's wildly different from the podcast. Like, they make the woman in the story who is a lesbian in the podcast, they make her straight in the show. And the main character is a black man who has never seen a red flag he didn't like throughout this whole show. Like, there's always jokes about people of color in horror movies that you will not catch me out in the woods by myself. I will not be anywhere without like cell phone reception, so I can't call for help. This man never saw a red flag he didn't like. He's in the woods alone at a creepy mansion. There's no cell reception. He's investigating a cult alone. Like, I was so genuinely worried for this man that when bad things happen to him, like, well, you literally brought this on yourself. You literally invited this shit onto you. You had every opportunity to stop and walk away from it, but you kept going. Like, I couldn't.
I remember hearing about the show.
Like, I don't think I don't need to be involved.
Like, it's a suspenseful show. It does kind of draw you in and make you want to think, oh man, what's going to happen next? It's good at doing that. But just the fact that this man had every single opportunity to just, I'm good. I'm done. This is too weird for me. There's too much weird shit happening. I don't feel safe here. This isn't a safe situation. And he just stayed in it because of a white woman that he was having like a parasocial relationship through old cassette tapes, VHS tapes from the 90s. I'm just like, and again, the fact that they made her straight when she is a lesbian in a committed relationship in the podcast was just ick.
I don't like that.
No.
I don't like that.
I think we both don't ever seen that.
Let's end on a high note and talk about our final shows, our final picks. So, Mary, what's your final top pick?
My final topic, I'm cheating, because technically the show doesn't start officially airing until next Friday, but Netflix released the first episode last night on their Twitch account, and I got to watch the first episode live with the creative director for the Dragon Age franchise at BioWare, the showrunner, oh god, I had to write down her name so I don't butcher it, Margaret Scott, who is, I've never heard of her before. This woman's had a phenomenal career as a creative writer. She's worked on Marvel, Star Wars, Transformers. She did a whole Batgirl run at DC. So she's a great writer. And then you also got to watch it with 3 of the voice actors in the cast. So just some backstory. If you have never played the Dragon Age video games, that is fine. You do not need to have played them to watch this show, because it takes place after the 3rd video game, after events have already happened. They'll reference things, but they don't do a deep dive into it. You're in an entirely different setting. We're in a place that has only been mentioned in the previous games. We've never actually set foot there. It's an entirely different culture. But the way that this show was done, I didn't know this until I watched the live. Apparently, they pitched it to BioWare in 2019. It was accepted. They started writing, and they filmed all of the voice actors just like this on Zoom in the summer of 2020. And they recorded all of the vocals that you're going to hear in the show from that Zoom. And the animators took all of the facial expressions that the actors were making while they were voice acting and incorporated that into the animation. So much love went into this show, and you can tell because the company that owns the video game was involved in every step of the creative process, which does not happen with a lot of video game adaptations, as we all know. And then the showrunner has played the video game. She's played them several times, so she knows the lore, she knows these characters. Dragon Age, for me, in the world that it exists in, Thedas, is very much like Lord of the Rings and going to Middle-earth. Going to any adventure in Thetis, I feel like I'm coming home again, no matter who the characters are, because it's such a rich world. There's such rich lore and storytelling. You get different races. There are prejudices in this show, religion, socioeconomics, politics. It's very grounded in reality, and they do discuss very real topics within this fantasy setting where there are elves and dwarves and horned people called Canaries and mages and things like that. So what the show is, it's all of that, and it's a show about a heist. And this ragtag group of people come together to perform a heist. And insanity is going to happen. There's a lot of layers to it, and it's so tightly written. It's only 6 episodes. It's only going to be 6 episodes. Every episode is supposed to be 20 minutes. It's so tightly written, and you get so much. But if you've never played the games, if you've never read any of the comics or the books, you can follow this very easily. I really can't wait for the whole thing to drop. The next
I will do mine, which is Andor. I can honestly say that this might be the best Star Wars property since Rogue One, and maybe since Empire Strikes Back. It's that good. It's that good. Beyond the references to Brazil, to the Holocaust, to THX 1138, to we lost Allie. To Blade Runner. This show 100% lovingly references real life events and previous films while 100% being its own thing and 100% being a Star Wars story. And for me, as I said to you guys offline, it's watching Andor Cassian become radicalized through the casual cruelty of the Empire. Because from childhood, probably from infancy, considering where we find him in the first episode, the Empire has destroyed his life. When we meet him in the first episode, it's freaking Lord of the Flies. It's just him and a bunch of other kids trying to survive. Why? Because the Empire colonized their planet and murdered all the adults. And so, that's how his life starts. And every time he finds some modicum of peace, the Empire shows up and wrecks his shit. And so, watching, as I said, we've never actually seen how so many people became members of the rebellion in this way before. With Leia, she's been in the shit for a while, by the time we meet her in A New Hope. Luke is in the middle of nowhere. He's not directly affected by it when we meet him. Han has been running the whole time. The first opportunity he gets, he bolts. This is the first time that we have seen what it's like to grow up under an oppressive regime like that. It's especially timely considering what's happening in Iran right now. This show hits different based off of what's going on in this country, what's going on in Italy, what's going on in Iran, what's going on all around the world where there has been a distinct rise in fascism all over the planet. Lala, exactly. What's going on in Ukraine. So this show just hits different. On top of that, it looks good. Holy shit, this show looks good. The entire Narkina, every episode looks great, but the Narkina 5 episode, holy crap. Watching, one of the other things that this show and Obi-Wan have done is show how the rebellion, the call was coming from inside the house. And what I mean by that is there were Imperials who were like, this is not what I signed up for. I did not sign up to be murdering innocent people and oppressing people. And this show, watching Mon Mothma try to keep her shit together while being on the front lines, while also trying to keep that public face and deal with her own actual family drama. Because as much as the show is about Andor, it's also very much about her. And Genevieve O'Reilly is freaking phenomenal. Holy crap, she's good. That's not even getting into the young lady who plays her cousin, Vel, who I don't know if you realize it's the same girl who plays the waif on Game of Thrones, who beat the living shit out of Arya in her training with, same girl. It took me a while because her face kept bugging me. I was like, who is that? I know who that is, but I'm not sure. Watching the two of them try to navigate their public while still doing what they can to take down the Empire. This show was just, it sits with you. It sits with you. It sits with you because unfortunately there's so many real world applications. It sits with you because of the performances. It sits with you because of the casual cruelty, the microaggressions, the insidiousness of the Empire, and how you don't realize you're the bad guy until it's too late. There's several Imperials in the show who are like, holy shit, are we the bad guys? And it's like, yeah, you are. You are. And they're reckoning with that. And how this is the first time I think we've really seen Imperials go, oh my God, I'm a mass murderer. And if I didn't pull the trigger, I was party to it.
I think the only time we've ever seen that was with Finn, because he refuses to shoot, but he's still there.
He's still there.
And then with Body, because he, like, you have to read the comics to understand, but like he just wanted to be a pilot, and you have to understand, well,
how he was hurt.
What was what was his cargo? You have to find out what his cargo was, and like that's his turn. You don't get that in Rogue One, but the fact that they put in the line that, like, Galen told me that I could be better than this, it's at least something. I'm glad we're getting more of that, because they are literal space Nazis, and they've never been shy about hiding that.
No, and they don't know because they are brainwashed to it, and there's in history people that were able to break away. So we're seeing that
Yeah.
Andor. And sorry, side note, seeing Cassian in his early years and seeing what made him into what we love in Rogue One, because I think we can all agree Rogue One is our favorite newer Star Wars movie. Yeah, I seeing his character grow and why it grow, it was heartbreaking, but understandably so, of why he is the actual hero that he is. That he will put his life on the line to destroy the Empire. A true rebel.
One of the things that was heartbreaking for me personally, because I am one of those people who's actually watched all of the Star Wars media, including Clone Wars and Rebels, seeing Admiral Yularen, that messed me up. I'm not gonna lie. If you watch Clone Wars, he's the one non-Jedi who's in almost every episode. He is a good man. He is a genuinely good man. So to see him, and I know logically that he is a part of this system. We see him in A New Hope. We know that he is going to be going right along with this shit. It's one thing to know it logically, but to see him order a massacre after spending 7 years with this character in Clone Wars. Y'all, I burst into tears when I realized who it was that was ordering. I had to stop it. I had to stop the episode. It messed me up because I love him. And that's the point. That's the freaking point. You don't become evil overnight. It's a series of small compromises. And if you don't stop and go, no, all hell can break loose. And that legitimately, of all that one messed me up. It's like I'm almost about to cry now. That messed me up because I spent 7 years with this character, and to see him order a straight massacre of innocent people was too much. Andor does such a great job of showing the insidiousness of complacency. It's a phenomenal show. It moved me on a very personal level. It can only get better because the season was just phenomenal, and I'm like, and this is just them not really going for it. I can only imagine what's going to happen when they have all of the money. Holy shit. So yeah, Andor is by far my top pick, hands down, of all the shows that dropped this year. Hands down. It is everything I wanted and more.
I wish people would give it more of a chance, because in the first couple episodes, they're like, oh, well, this is boring. This is boring. This is a boring Star Wars show. I'm like, they're not understanding the writing, man. Like, they don't have the attention span. Like, actually concentrate on the show. Get off your phone for a second. Actually look at what's happening, and you will like it. It's, again, I said earlier, because it was one of my honorable mentions. It's a great story. It's great storytelling, and that's a Star Wars story that doesn't have to have the Skywalkers in. So get over the fact that the Skywalkers of it, they don't part of it. There's so much in the Star Wars universe that doesn't have to have the freaking Skywalkers in. So, yeah, I will agree on so many notes what you just said with Andor, because it was a great show. I love Cassian. I love the actor. I love the cast. Yeah.
One of the things I noticed too is a subtle thing, but Diego Luna gained weight, and I didn't realize he gained weight until like episode 3 or 4, because the roundness in his face makes him look younger. And this is supposed to happen 5 years before Rogue One. Because I was like, how does he look like a baby? When this is 5 years, literally filming-wise, 5 years after Rogue One, but he looks younger than he did in Rogue One. And it wasn't just him. One of the other, I'm not going to spoil it for you, Mary, but
I've only seen the first 3 episodes, so like or 4. I can't remember where I'm at. I haven't finished it yet.
One of the other members of Rogue Squadron ends up in the show, and he also, I was like, it was bugging me for the entire, and I was like, oh my god, okay. And I realized that they had both of them gain weight, so their faces are rounder, which made them look younger. And it's just a little detail, but I love shit like that. It's just because Cassian looks road hard, but away wet in Rogue One.
But he's also in his hoe era.
Huh?
That man's in his hoe era too. The one thing a lot of fans wanted, because they knew that Cassian in Rogue One, he was like rebel spy. He's doing things, seedy underworld shit. He didn't get a hoe era. He's in his hoe era now. And he's living his best life. So, kinda living his best life. But he's got a hoe era. I know that's not right.
Also, on a side note, Fiona Shaw's phenomenal as Marva Andor. And B, I just love B. I love B so much, you guys. B will make you cry. B is, and I totally get why Tony Gilroy said B is an old dog who is super loyal and super loving. And I'm like, yes, B is. I love B.
Makes me cry over droids.
Yes. When you get to it, Mary, you're gonna break. I want Marva line. Girl, when I tell you, just a flood of tears.
I've heard that line, and I've heard can't swim. I'm like, I'm not there yet. I have no frame of reference of why this is breaking everybody's hearts. But I'm sure it will.
In a series full of moments that make you cry, I want Marva and I can't swim. Like, I'm upset.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I shouldn't have brought up the can't swim. I'm sorry.
So, those are our picks for our top shows of 2022. Let us know in the comments what shows you would have picked and what we missed and what you're looking forward to in 2023. This is Belle with Pop Culture Uncovered. You can find us at PC Uncovered on Twitter, Instagram, popcultureuncovered.com, Pop Culture Uncovered on Facebook, Patreon, not Peloton, Patreon, and Tumblr. And join us. We're going to have so many more reviews, and you might actually see me at a con in 2023. I might actually go out amongst the peoples. We'll see. So get your vaccinations, get your boosters, wear a mask, wash your hands, wipe your ass, and stay 6 feet apart from people you don't know. We love you.
Love you. For Astral, hey, this week on The Big Bang Theory.
Oh my God. For Astral.
For Astral.